And as a center for observing prayers, a mosque or masjid is also playing an essential role in bringing Muslims from all walks of life and all nationalities together, as is the case for a special masjid located in Houston, the USA. Let's now talk to Eka Kristanto, the president of Masjid Istiqlal in Houston, joining us from Texas to talk to us more about this live via Zoom application. Assalamualaikum, Mr. Eka Kristanto. Thank you very much. A very good morning to you in Texas. Thank you for joining us.
It's very early morning here. It's about 4:30 a.m. in the morning.
Mr. Eka, we have conveyed in the previous report on the delightful and historical mosque in Houston, Texas, sharing the same name as the very grand mosque in Jakarta, Istiqlal. Can you tell us more about how all of the ideas to build this Istiqlal mosque in Houston, Texas come about?
Well, yeah, in many of our discussion in our pengajian or halaqah, it revolves around the fact that Indonesia has the biggest Muslim population in the world. Probably when you live in Indonesia, you don't feel this impact, but when you live outside Indonesia, you feel this impact. But certainly, there is a purpose for that. For Allah Subhanahu wa Taala decree that Indonesia has the biggest Muslim population in the world. Maybe we ought to be in the forefront of the da'wah circle. Certainly, we have the basic ingredient to do that. We are patient, we are humble, and naturally, the Islamic thought that developed and revolves around this personality will be a potent one. So why don't we introduce it to the world? And certainly, masjid is the best place to start with. We can use masjid as a platform to invite Indonesian scholar to come here to the US and be active in Dawah circle. But apart from that, having a masjid also will be a very good investment for the Indonesian community in US, certainly in Texas, that we can use it as a place for the second and the third and subsequent generation of Indonesian Muslim to get in touch to their root, to learn about the Indonesian culture throughout the activities that we are doing in the masjid.
Good to
So
hear that
that's
this is a
basically
place.
the two main thought of why we ought to have a masjid here. And
Right.
in fact, using this the same reason, I think as in a nation, we have to have masjid in all cities where Indonesian community are established around
Right.
the world. I mean,
Right. Mr. Eka, it's good to hear that the masjid, the Istiqlal Mosque in Texas also becomes a platform to bring international communities of Muslim together. And we also convey in a previous report that it was initially a church before it was turned into a mosque. What was the initial concept of the Istiqlal Mosque before it was built, Mr. Eka?
where it's simple. We want the masjid to be the center of all of our activities, be it religious activities for certain or social activities. And alhamdulillah, we are in a way to make that into realization.
Mm. Mr. Eka, was there any particular challenges in building a masjid or a mosque within the society and the communities that are predominantly non-Muslims?
Well, and to start with, and this is common for everybody around the world who wants to establish a masjid. To start with, money is always a challenge. But other than that, surprisingly, at least in Texas, um, we don't see any particular challenges, from either the society or our community or from the government.
Mm.
It's we can do just about what we want to.
Right. Just a couple of days ago, we talked to one of our colleagues, our fellow Indonesians in Washington, D.C., mentioning that in the case of a lot of mosques in the USA, most of them are built in the suburb area rather than downtown due to the limited space, and also more and more people are moving toward the suburb areas and also the licensing areas. Was that also the case with the Istiqlal Mosque or the Masjid of Istiqlal in Houston, Mr. Eka?
Yes, it's very much the same, but ours is a little bit fortunate because we are not very far away from the downtown, but yet in our area it's like a free zone. I mean, you can do anything what you want in your property. That's why when we established the masjid, I noted that it was a church before. So when we changed the function to masjid, there is no challenge. Everything went smoothly. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Mr. Eka, how was the building process of this masjid funded in the first place? Was it a collective fund, or do you have a single major donation for the building?
No, it was a collective funds from the mainly from the Indonesian society who lives in Houston and Texas area. But there are also some contribution from Indonesian throughout the world really, and even from non-Indonesian. But the initial cost to buy the properties and some buildings on it, comes from within, from the Indonesian society, or from Indonesian community, what I meant.
Right.
But now we are, because the masjid now is just temporary. We are still trying to build a more proper masjid. So we are, still, collecting money to do just that.
Right. Mr. Eka, you also mentioned that the masjid also becomes a sort of center of activities, be it for Muslims or non-Muslims alike. What are in the roster of programs for the mosque, especially involving local communities to get together, and also during the month of Ramadan, Mr. Eka?
Well, we have plenty of activities for people around. Um, but especially for Ramadan, we have iftar, where you break your fast every day, not only on the weekend. And this is we found out throughout the years the best way to also introduce Indonesian culinary to the people around here. And also we starting this year, and we certainly hope that this can be continued throughout the year, especially during Ramadan. This year we invited a young Hafiz from Indonesia to lead the Tarawih prayer. And this is also means for us to introduce to the people, to the world really, because our Jama'ah comes from many walks of life and from many countries around the world. That yes, we have Hafiz, we can lead the prayer, and they are young. So that's
Right.
what we want to introduce to them.
Yeah, it's delightful to hear that. And we were just looking at the pictures, Mr. Eka, on how lively the gathering is over at the Istiqlal Mosque, which I believe probably for iftar. And in regards to the picture that we just saw, Mr. Eka, how's the pandemic adjusted into the activities within the compounds of the mosque? Is there any adjustment, or is it now free for all now we've come to see the end of the pandemic?
Well, at the very beginning, it was at 2020, I believe. We closed the masjid. We don't hold any prayer there. We don't even hold any Jum'ah, or during the Ramadan we closed the masjid. And then 2021 we slowly opened the masjid with all of these COVID restriction. And alhamdulillah now this year 2022. We opened fully the masjid. We removed the social distancing, but we always encourage them to wear mask. Not of course when they are eating, but besides that, when inside the masjid, we encourage them to wear mask. But apart from that, yeah, we are fully open. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. It's certainly heartwarming to see and to hear your insights and your stories as well, Mr. Eka Kristanto. Thank you very much for sharing with us such interesting and illuminating stories of Ramadan from Houston, Texas. We thank you so much for your time early morning
Thank you very much.
from the USA. Thank you.
My
Assalamualaikum.
pleasure. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.